saw the t-shirt on LinkedIn.
Yeah, I'm really well communicating with that now. My address.
It's Joe.
Yes. It's actually like most of my deal was to take over this
Check. Wow. So first of all, everybody, thank you for coming. Appreciate you coming to the first. This is really the first OpenStack meetup that has happened here in San Antonio for a year. There's been a Boston meetup that's been going on for quite a while, and those guys are doing good things out there at Dell. But it makes sense with Rackspace being one of the homes of OpenStack that we should have our very own meetup here. So I'd also like to thank Rackspace and Rainya for arranging to host the event here at Rackspace, provide pizza, provide beer for us, and as well as our first speaker. So we will be doing meetups on a monthly basis. Occasionally we may have a random meetup, just depending on what's going on in the OpenStack community at the time. My name is Rodrigue. I'm with Canonical. Canonical is the company that's behind Ubuntu and Ubuntu OpenStack. So I manage the central region for the US for sales and business development. And basically what I do is I go out to telcos and I talk to them about deploying OpenStack at scale. Very similar, I actually used to be a racker. I was a racker for about 3 years. So it's near and dear to my heart. So I'm actually really excited to come back and see all the work that's been done. And then my co-organizer and our first speaker today is Rainya Mosher. And then Rainya, I'm sure that you have some slides to introduce yourself. So
I do.
I won't steal your thunder there. Just some housekeeping. These are some upcoming events here in the next month or so. On May 7th and 8th, UTSA is hosting the Open Compute community. I don't know, is anybody familiar with Open Compute and kind of what they're doing there? Right? It's basically, it's started by Facebook. Rackspace is heavily involved. A lot of large organizations. Basically, it's all around building open data center designs. It's all about saving money, building faster, better clouds. And OpenStack is a huge component of that, right? It makes sense to put an open cloud on top of an open infrastructure. And so UTSA, I don't know how much of this, I heard an internal call, so I don't know how much I can really disclose about what they'll be announcing at that, but let's say it's an open big cloud that exists at UTSA. So, and they'll be actually having multiple OpenStack workshops there, talking about how they deployed OpenStack on Open Compute. ODS Atlanta, that's OpenStack Developer Summit. That's the Super Bowl for OpenStack, right? Basically, the entire OpenStack ecosystem is going to converge on Atlanta. That's where everybody from Rackspace to Dell to HP to you name it's going to get up and talk about what they're doing within OpenStack, from the projects to deployment. And that's where if you're interested in learning more about OpenStack, that's really the mecca that everybody will go to. And then following those days, the last couple of days are actually the True Design Summit, where software developers will get together and they'll decide. So tomorrow is the Havana release, and then they're going to get together. Sorry, did I say Havana?
You did, with conviction.
Talking about Havana. Tomorrow is the Ice House release, and then they're going to actually get together and talk about Juno and what's going to be done there. And then on May 21st, so it's TBD whether it's going to be here in this room or if it's going to be at Geekdom. But we're going to have a meetup on May 21st as well, with a talk largely around operations. So that's going to be users and consumers of OpenStack, as well as the DevOps folks that administrate them. I wanted to gather some information from you guys. It's been about a year again since we've met. So I'd like to get a feel for what you're looking for at the next meetup, and then in future meetups. So if I could get maybe a show of hands, how many folks here are software developers and interested in actively contributing to OpenStack? Okay, fantastic. And then how many are actual looking from a more business perspective or operations perspective? Okay. So so a few people raised their hand twice, and then it's about 50-50 throughout the room. So that's kind of what I was hoping to see, because our plans really is to hit both sides, both operations and development. Obviously, both tracks have, you can rabbit hole really quickly into each of those. So as we look at speakers and as we look at content, we'll keep that in mind. Is there a general feel for a company or a specific technology that anybody in particular would like to hear from? A deployment company, a company running OpenStack at scale?
How about y'all think about it, and we'll send out through the Meetup a Google form, little survey, and then you can put your thoughts there.
Yeah, that would be fantastic to get that
I think
feedback.
deployment, probably.
Deployment?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'd be happy to help there. Great. All right. Well, then that's my time. And so next is Ms. Mosher talking about, well, we'll let you set up your slides and
All right.
everything else you talk.
Hello, everybody. These slides will be up on SlideShare, and will share out through the Meetup, so that you will be able to get a copy of these at the end with links and all of the stuff. Today's talk is really very general, very high level. So you want to be an OpenStack contributor, and what does that mean? Helping expand what contributor means beyond just being a developer, beyond just being an operator, but also if you're interested in getting started there, how would you go about doing that? I am Rainya. Here's my Twitter handle. I'm Rainya on IRC and Rainya.Mosher@Rackspace.com. I am a software development manager for our deployment automations team of our public cloud infrastructure. So we write the software that deploys the software that runs the cloud. We'll start with a view from 50,000 feet. What is OpenStack? Make sure we all know what we're talking about, the projects. We'll spend some time on the community and the communication, because I think that's oftentimes overlooked. And understanding the community and the communication helps immensely in being successful within OpenStack. I've been at Rackspace for 2 years, involved with OpenStack for 2 years, and this is kind of, I wish I had known this when I started. And then we'll go specifically into the OpenStack contribution. Why to do it, where to do it, how to do it, so you at least have direction on where to go next. If we have time, I'd love to go over also the Icehouse release, kind of go through some of the release notes and take a look at the good stuff that happened, and do a preview of what's going to be discussed in Juneau during the Design Summit next month. I love starting presentations with quotes, just because I'm a writer and a talker. I had an opportunity to go speak in Seoul, Korea last month, and used this quote, and it turned out this is kind of the theme of this conference that I was asked to speak at, really about making the cloud into a public utility. A lot of people ask, I've heard of cloud, what is that? And I'm starting to tell people, it's hey, Instagram, Netflix, those cool things that you do on the internet, they need infrastructure, and they need it fast, and so that's what the cloud is. It makes it possible for the next big thing, the next cool thing to happen. And then they're like, oh, okay. And they still don't care, but they get it a little bit better. So really this is just about the computer utility cloud becoming the basis of a new and important industry. And I think that the diversity of this room, we have people from Canonical, from HP, from USAA, from Rackspace, and probably a few other companies here, just in San Antonio, and there'll be dozens and dozens, if not, at the OpenStack Meetup. So we are creating a new industry here, and it's very exciting. So what is OpenStack? It is a cloud operating system. Controls large pools of compute and storage and networks and blah. If you have questions as we go, feel free to ask. This is just making sure everybody understands what OpenStack is at a high level. There are a ton of projects in OpenStack. The ones that are in bold are the ones that Rackspace is our more product-y stuff. between public and private cloud and other services. So there's a lot of different places to contribute. If you're a Python developer, a database person, like infrastructure, like web application, or the dashboard, the release cycle management, or business process people. There are lots of different places to actually contribute, even if you're not necessarily a quote-unquote developer. The OpenStack development process. It's kind of interesting for me on something that is so cutting edge. It still uses a 6-month release cycle. It's still very waterfall-y, for lack of a better word. We start off the 6-month cycle with a planning session, and about the 3rd week of that is the design summit. So we have that here at the Geno Design Summit, May 13th through the 16th in Atlanta, where everybody gets together and they discuss and argue in person, face-to-face. It's really a great, amazing time. Then they go off into their corners and work and implement and do what they said they were going to do. Individual developers, operations people, document writers, marketing people, the technical leads, all of those go off and actually make OpenStack do what they're trying to get it to do. And then we go into this pre-release phase where we have feature freezes, where we're like, okay, we're not going to add anything new, we'll fix bugs, we'll finish out things that were already in flight and approved, but we're getting ready to actually release the final product. But if we have 3 release candidates per project before the final release, which is tomorrow, I'm very excited. It'll be done and stable. During all of this, and then the ISOS release up here, on this particular slide, if you click here, it'll actually take you to the, yes sir?
Why the 6-month release cycle?
When they set it up, that's what they set it up as. That's just the model that was chosen 3 or so years ago when OpenStack was created. Do you know the answer?
I can add a little bit to it.
So the OpenStack Foundation was actually formed at Ubuntu Developer Summit. Guess what? Ubuntu goes in 6-month releases with 2-year LTSs. Coincidence?
Are there plans to go agile or use extreme techniques or anything like that?
If I have my influence, yes. There's a lot of conversation, a lot of discussion on how, yes, Chris?
It'd probably be good to note that just because OpenStack gets a 6-month release cycle, companies do impact release continuously. There's a lot of companies that
Yeah, so for we actually are recording this for the people that aren't able to be here. So that was the, why is it a 6-month cycle? Are there plans to go agile? And then one of our node developers here at Rackspace pointed out that even though it is a 6-month cycle, a lot of companies are consumed directly from OpenStack trunk, including Rackspace. And so really when I talk about the influence, it's more about being able to implement some CI/CD ideas and concepts that work great in web into the infrastructure with things like toggle switches and continuous delivery. And that's a community change and a culture change to go from, oh, this is my work in progress, I just don't have to worry about it, to I need to actually use this in a legalable state or figure out how to hide the path so that nobody consumes it until we're ready for it to be done. So it's really that's a lot of community, people, social work that needs to happen to help change that and push in that direction. We are moving that direction. Nova's been doing a really great job, and it's really the review team that is in charge of that and responsible for that. We'll get to that a little bit later. Which is actually a great segue into the next slide. I have a daughter, so I watch a lot of Disney Channel in my house. And there was a movie out last year called Frenemies, and it was the story of 3 different people and how they were best friends, and then they weren't, and they were frenemies. And it's a very, very tween term, but it actually is a buzzword that gets used a lot to describe the OpenStack community. So we're not just open source software, it's really a growing community around that, and that is what makes OpenStack so valuable. It's a group that gets together, that meets, that flies all over the world twice a year to talk about the direction and vision. There's over 80 companies involved and over 1,000 individuals. And some of those individuals work for those companies, and some of them are completely independent. And so it's just a really awesome awesome place to be, and it's kind of why I came to Rackspace. Just some stats, I cannot remember exactly what time these are, but I think these were, as a point in time, maybe year to date, just the number of commits, over 2,000 developers right now, the number of tickets and issues, and then also the mail messages. Communication is a big deal in the OpenStack community. I've met a lot of people, worked with a lot of people, and they're a great group, great group. Even though they can be a little brusque in email and IRC. So as we talk about communication, there are 12 major types of mailing lists. I did not take into account how many different ones there are, but there are a lot of OpenStack mailing lists. And when you only meet twice a year in person, you do a lot of online communication as you're designing and directing and figuring out where to go. The mailing lists are extremely active. I am on like 2 and I'm hopelessly unable to keep up with them. They are great places to lurk, so as you have some time to just kind of scroll through and see what's going on and see if something catches your fancy and get involved. As long as you set up your filters, you should be okay to sign up. With IRC, Internet Relay Chat, it was so great when I came here and I realized IRC was still alive and well. I discovered it in the 90s at college and grew up on FNet, which people were like, whoa. And so it's very, very natural. Freenode, there, how many did I count? Kind of 42 different official OpenStack channels on the Freenode network to interact with the different teams. And that's really the equivalent of being in the same room with somebody when you're working in a distributed, highly distributed group of people. It's like group chat on steroids, the original group chat, not even on steroids, just the original group chat. There's also an ask.openstack.com. We also have the Design Summit, so this is actually going to link you out to the Design Summit here. Meetups, most major cities have one. And then the OpenStack glossary that the documentation team put together to help navigate all of that. So that's kind of the overview, 50,000-foot view. Any other questions about the development process, about any of that touchy-feely stuff? All right. So why contribute? Speaking of touchy-feely, it could just be because you want to change the world. That really is OpenStack, and having an open source cloud computing software is a huge deal in developing countries that maybe don't have access to the same technology as we do here. The work that's being done in Africa to build out data centers, in rural parts of India to build data centers and bring computing closer to the people that live there is pretty amazing. And having open source software enables that, helps make that a little bit easier to accomplish. So it's pretty big. This is really big. It's really kind of OpenStack and everybody else, that are making money, but they're doing it very close, proprietary. Selfish reasons, build your expertise. Build a new career path out of this. There's lots of people that started out in OpenStack, and once you actually understand Python, know your way around, there's lots of job opportunities out there for developers who have good engineering minds to get into the nooks and crannies. And with all those projects, you don't even need to know the most complicated Nova to be engaged, to have that opportunity. There's some amazingly smart people, really honestly some of the smartest people I've ever known, work on OpenStack, and it's really awesome to interact with them and see how their brain works, at least for me. And then it is a new, unique social and technical challenge. I was following IBM Security on Twitter, and basically we're at a point where our biggest technology challenges are really social in nature, really people in nature. It's really about getting involved, not just figuring out how to write the code, but how to actually influence and change and bring it all together. So this is why to contribute. So where to contribute? The first thought that everybody has how to contribute to OpenStack is I need to be a developer and I need to be able to write code. That is the most obvious way. You get a really nice, cool, if you go to the summit, you get an ATC, little indication, active technical contributor, which is just cool because it gives you like a patch and access to the developers lounge. So it's nice, but it's not the only way to contribute. You can use it SDKs for the actual use of OpenStack, operations and engineering. The OpenStack, one of the big themes of this design summit here is going to be the operator at OpenStack. And the fact that being an operator at OpenStack is different than being a developer, and the use cases at scale are different than your DevStack instance that you're coding on. And we have quite a few of our operations guys here that are chuckling knowingly because they're like, yeah, we'd really like to have more operator involvement, community involvement and documentation. And then the other side, helping with marketing, helping with testing. Triaging bugs is a huge area right now, where you can go in and look on one of the projects and look at the bugs and help determine, hey, is this an easy one? Is this a hard one? Is this a low one? Maybe you don't have time to like actually go implement it all, but you can be like, I think this is where it needs to be fixed, and someone else can come back and do it. It's a huge help to the large, especially the large projects that are limited with the number of people that do that triaging activity. And translating, if you speak another language, translating documentations for the API and other things is very much needed. There are actual dedicated lists for that specific function. How to contribute in 3 easy steps, or 3 simple steps. So you're going to join and prove you are who you are. And you do this through Launchpad, uploading SSH keys, joining the foundation, signing the contributor's licensing agreement, and then double checking all your works and review. It's actually really easy. OpenStack.org has really great walkthrough documentation. You're going to set up your work files. So if you're a content creator, and that could be a coder who's working on Nova or Dashboard or one of those projects where we think of code, or a documentation writer. Anybody that's going to actually create content that goes into kind of the OpenStack product computing system. You're going to set up Git, clone your repo, Git review, and do all of that, and then you're going to get it reviewed with the extra eyes. And you can either review other people's stuff, which is again another hugely helpful, beneficial way to get engaged with OpenStack. We're looking at ways in the community to build karma through reviewing, and actually starting to get some of that like technical contributor cred, even though you're not coding, because as an operator you might not know enough Python to get by and actually create it, but you can see when an idea is going to make your life really hard. And provide that feedback, which is really valuable to the community. And so you go through that. So it's simple. There's 3 major parts of it. And then there's actually all the technical writing of the code and whatever you're going to do. However, simple isn't always easy. Git has a huge learning curve. It just does. 2 years, I still feel dumb every time I use it. It's really interesting. I learn how to do something, not use it for a week, and then feel like I have to start all over again with trying to learn how to use it. One of the things coming from a Windows background, tutorials in Linux and Git communities generally tend to assume that you already know the basics, so they leave those off. So when you're starting from scratch, like you're that college kid hacking away, it gets really hard. It's a little bit harder, it's harder to use. And folks with experience, which is why on my graphic, Git reset, hard head, that kind of sums up Git for me. There are amazing blog posts out there that explain how awful it is and how hard it is to use, but once you get it down, it is the best way to manage massively collaborative source code repositories. So the other part that is simple but not easy is the review process. So in order to do a patch, get a patch merged either in one of the OpenStack projects, documentation, Python code, whatever it might be. You have to pass the various voting and non-voting gates. Most people aren't going to even look at your code if you're failing tests, or one of the other automated builds is failing. And then you actually have to get a +1 from 2 project cores, which is a special group of developers that have been working for a long time on that project to have the respect and the trust of the product technical lead, or the project technical lead, which is the nominated head of that particular project. And so that they put in the work and the time to develop the relationship with the community, to prove that they understand the code. And so that takes time. They're an endangered species. There's just not a lot of them for each project. The smart people you have to work with, that you have to work with, yay, they have really strong opinions, and they're going to tell you about it. And they're not always going to be sugarcoating it and nice about it. They're going to be direct. They may not ever see you face to face, and it's generally just faster that way. Just like, I'm just going to get to the point. This is my opinion. I'm not merging this. It can be very standoffish for a lot of people. And most of the time, when you ask, when you kind of come back and be like, hey, somebody such and such said that was a really harsh review. It's like, I was just telling the truth. It wasn't personal. It was just telling the truth. Your great idea that you're reviewing, it just may not fit with the current release cycle. So you could have it, and it's just not even going to get the attention because it's too low down on the priority list in the overall goal of that cycle. I've seen a lot of the ones I've seen are content, like my approach to developing is very different from this other person's approach, and this other person actually has more influence right now and really thinks I should do it this way. So you have to find that balance between, like, be back in college where you're having to do professor things, like, okay, fine, I'll do it this way. And it's just not that early way. This is how they keep the quality of the code consistent when you have 2,000 people contributing to it. Is you follow standards. They're not always put out and obvious, and so you communicate this is how you do it through the review process. Help educate, bring on new developers, bring on new contributors. And I've had a chance to work with a lot of code reviewers from different projects, a lot of developers from different projects, and even if they are brusque and a little bit short in IRC messaging reviews, they are actually mostly really nice people. There are a few that I don't really like, but no, that's actually not true. I'm thinking, I can't think of one that I met at a summit or here at Rackspace during meetups and things like that I haven't really enjoyed working with. So they are a great group of people. So what's next? Joining through Launchpad and the Foundation if you haven't already done so. This also will give you access to being able to vote on community issues. That's really what it means to be part of the community, is to join that foundation. It's free, it doesn't cost you anything at the individual level, and it makes you part of that something bigger. Sign up for some mailing lists, some IRC channels, or 10, and start lurking and listening and observing what's going on. And see, this is going to be corny, but see where you're pulled, see where your interests lie, see where you align, see where you think you might be able to contribute. One of the interesting things that's developing right now in the community is the concept of a product manager in the open source project itself, to be a partner for that project's technical lead. Much like you would have a development manager and a product manager in a regular company, in a publicly traded or a private company, having that same kind of pairing up. So if you're still more businessy or more product focused, it's a great place to leverage it. That's an area where I'm interested. I'm never probably going to learn Python well enough to code on Nova, but I can learn how to design the project or design the product and do a lot of that just with my background. If you can find a mentor in your area of interest, that's the best way. They're not always easy to find. IRC and mailing lists are a great place to see where you connect. If you work in a company that's using OpenStack, ask around, see who you can take to lunch to pick their brain, and ask lots of questions. That's how I got as far as I am with as much as I know, is just from asking a whole bunch of questions. It feels very much sometimes like being back at the beginning of your tech career. When you come into this, it's just very big, very new. And to conclude, paraphrasing Russell B., who was the former project technical lead for Nova up until a couple weeks ago, we had a mid-cycle meetup in Utah. We decided that twice a year was not enough, so we're like, hey, let's get together in Utah. Because one of the guys from Australia had never been, so he wanted to go to Utah. And paraphrasing it was basically, the feel is that there's actually enough developers right now. What they need more of is all the other stuff, is the people that can go in and triage, the people that can help with reviews, the people that can help drive the direction of the product, the people that have opinions and are willing to share it and engage in conversation. So So you don't actually have to be a coder to contribute to OpenStack. It does help though. So we're here, we can do some questions and answers, but this is the end of my presentation. Thank you very much for your time and attention and for coming out to the first meetup in a year. Yay! I survived. If there aren't any questions about the presentation here, I was going to pull up the Icehouse release notes just to kind of give an idea of all of the changes that have happened, and also do a preview of the Juno Summit. If you're not going to Atlanta, there are still tickets available. I believe they're on sale through May 8th. We might have a hard time finding a hotel. There's a lot that will be live streamed, and you can watch it on from the like the keynotes, and a lot of the sessions will be either live streamed or available afterwards. Wrong browser. So here's the release notes. This is an area where all those other things, all those other people that they need, out of all of those projects, really only Nova, Swift, and some of Lance have decently fleshed out release notes. So here we'll come into OpenStack, and it's kind of when you're the people that are coding the software and reviewing it and making sure it works and planning the next 6 months. It's really hard to also document it all in a release note style that's easy to consume. So upgrade support, and this is what I'm personally really happy about. We were talking about deployments. They're looking at, in Icehouse, some of the work was started, and Chris will correct me, I think, if I misspeak, but in Icehouse, some of the work was started. In Juno, more of it will happen with the object model, and actually being able to deploy the control plane separately from the computes. This seems like such a simple thing, it's so not. And we should have that, which is going to make a huge difference in how we orchestrate our deploys, in the direction that you can go, and how disruptive they can be to the control plane, to where the customer says, hey, I want a new server. Let's see, different drivers, yeah, just all the different drivers, the supports, API changes, the scheduler is another, so the scheduler actually is what's responsible for saying, I want to create a server, or I want to do this action on my server, and then the scheduler helps figure out where it needs to go to actually do that, and the hypervisors at that data domain level. And a lot of really great work is happening there to improve that, make it more reliable, more fault tolerant, more resilient, all of the great stuff that increases stability, and everything like that. So other features, notifications, known issues, and here's some upgrade notes. So I think that still the more common use case right now is to do a forklift upgrade from Canonical to Icehouse, or from a previous release to the next release. So this is really the upgrade that they're talking about, but it does have benefit for those that do consume it in a more CI/CD manner, as it makes it more stable for us as we change out code every time. And then as we talk about Summit, and I know the most about Nova, so that's why I'm only looking at those. And then Summit, as you come into the schedule, from the OpenStack.org website, you can get to this very easily. And these keynotes should be streamed live on Monday morning, so you can have them playing in the background. And then there are just tons of different tracks going on. I'm speaking on 4 different tracks. Along with her back there. I'm speaking on four different topics over the course of the conference, and I'm hoping to get to as many sessions as I can myself, just to learn more, see more people. We're spending a lot of time with the infrastructure team and a lot of time with the Nova team, just because that's where my current focus is in my day job. So I hope that this gives you kind of an idea if you aren't really sure where it goes. Also, when we send out the, hey, what would you like to see in the next OpenStack, or the next meetup, or the next 3 meetups, this will help you realize, like, okay, this was too high, too low, I wanted to hear more about this, this is really where I'm interested, and that'll really help us craft something and create something that's useful for the community that's here in San Antonio, and building that out stronger, and making it even stronger.
I might have a comment too. In terms of people that are just getting started with OpenStack, would you mind opening up DevStack?
Oh, no.
You don't do that? No. Just the URL, devstack.org.
Okay.
Yeah, no, it's safe.
Devstock.org.
Yeah, I think it's .org.
Like, no, that's not part of my script.
I'm sorry. No, I was just thinking, I mean, if folks are just getting started, it's one thing. If you've got, a bunch of servers sitting around in an extra room in your house and you want to deploy OpenStack proper to
Like
it.
those guys back there.
Yeah, like we do, you can deploy OpenStack to it. The nice part about DevStack, so this is the first time that I'd actually seen Horizon dashboard myself. Until then, it was just this mythical unicorn that I'd heard about. Hey, dashboard's cool, and it's supposed to be like in Rackspace's cloud or Amazon's cloud, but I hadn't actually seen it. That was a problem. So what I was able to do is on Rackspace's cloud, I spun up, I happened to spin up an Ubuntu instance. I was not working at Canonical at the time, but I spun one up, and then using just the very simple, instructions here. It's just a simple like sudo apt-get, and then you just go through the process of installing, and it's designed to install on QEMU. So quick emulator, so it can run on a virtual instance. So virtualization on top of virtualization, like Inception, or on your laptop itself, on an Ubuntu laptop. So just wanted to point that out for people that are getting started, if they actually want to get in and start playing around with it. And the idea was just so that developers could immediately have access to the APIs and begin coding immediately without having a cloud up and running on an infrastructure. So.
It's just a simple apt-get install. That's one of those Linux assumptions that experts make. And then you're like, what is apt-get install? And then the Googling begins, and then you learn, and it's great fun.
Doesn't work on your Mac.
It doesn't work on your Mac.
Then again, nothing does.
Yeah, so it doesn't work on your Mac.
It'll work.
Then again, nothing does. So I think we can turn off the video and just have a good throwdown.
It actually does work on Mac.
VirtualBox.
Majority of the Nova team actually work on laptops. They use VMware and they install on top of that.
And so the point out is it does work on
VirtualBox.
Mac with VMware installed on top of that. That's how you get around Mac's limitation.
If you're going to spend the money for a Mac, you can spend the extra $100 for VMware.
Yeah. All right, then let's turn off the computer. I mean the recording. We can keep the hangout going, but let's turn off the good quality one so that we can really have it.
So it's deniability.
Yeah. So the last 15 minutes is really just mix and mingle, get more pizza, a little more soda, and get to know each other, meet each other. Hopefully we'll see you all back next month on the 21st at the to be determined location. And I'll be sending out a feedback form so you can be honest with how it was without worrying about hurting my feelings. Because yeah, I would totally hurt my feelings if you told me to my face.
I'm sensitive.
I'm very sensitive, yeah.